Wambuzi tarisa mumira, you deserve a photo shoot every hour. It's your hour. Camera, lights, flash.
Click, strike up, pose.
Oh, swag, drippy, click, strike up, pose.
Hey Our Rangers, what's good? What's popping? Welcome to a brand new episode of Her Hour. I hope that you guys are doing good. I hope you're keeping safe. And I hope that these COVID-19 times are doing you good as much as they can. Welcome back to the Influence series. We have a brand new guest for you today, and I hope that you guys are excited for the conversation. So if you are interested in hearing this part of the Influence series, stay tuned and enjoy the conversation. So yeah, see you guys on the other side.
Click, strike up, pose.
We're back again for another episode. And as you can see, I am not alone. I'm joined by two other special women who are, looking so beautiful, who are just giving me luxury, giving me, beauty, giving me soft skin, giving me melanin. I'm like, okay, we're in the right place. You've come to the right place. So shout out to our fave co-host, my homegirl. What's good, sis?
What's up? Peace up. H-Town down. I don't know what I'm doing. But hey, everybody. Yes, it's your fave, Vera. And it's so good to see you, Jordan. Look at you glowing up.
What's good?
This post-birthday
Okay.
girl. Guys, it was her birthday, but you can still send the love in the comment section. Do the thing.
Right. Thank you guys. If you do send me birthday love, thank you. If you don't, then anyway. And so we're also joined by the other third of this conversation. A little bit of a spice for your rice. She's looking good. What's good, sis? Shout out.
I'm good. Finally, great to be here. I mean, I've been seeing you all online. I'm just like, now I'm here.
Just tell us who you are. Tell the Our Rangers who you are. Give us a little bit of some background.
Okay. So my name is Mantate Mlotshwa. So I have a middle name. No one uses it, which is good because I love my first name. So it's Mantate Mlotshwa, and
Queen!
Look, I'm actually a queen by right. Like, it's official. Yeah, so I'm very passionate about everything to do with women and young people. So I think for me, the passion and heart is to see more women and young people, living lives that really are not limited by, social norms and all those crazy things. And
Right.
I'm very energetic. So you'll find me in a lot of things that have to do with energy and making money and influencing change and all those things. So I think that's really me.
I support that money making scheme, honey. Like, shout out to the women making money, doing some moves. I feel that. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate having your presence here. As I said, you look gorgeous. You look really beautiful. And so yeah, we are out here quenching our thirst. I am actually nursing a hangover with this beautiful beverage called Kuva Beverages. And that is the sponsor, our drinks sponsor for, all the episodes. If you've been watching, you know that by now. But I want to ask you, love, what are you drinking?
Kinali Mazowe.
Yes! The fave.
Use of choice,
That's a fave. That's a fave. I was actually saying to her that, like, I'm going to go have a glass when this episode is done. So if you want to have a glass of Mazoe, actually press pause, run to your kitchen, go and pour up that, this is that's like the perfect drink, guys. I'm like, one part Mazoe, and the pot needs to be like this big. And then the water, I'm joking.
You know how like just because I'm drinking it, you're having it. That's just like the influence. I'm an influencer, I think.
Right. Mantate is like influencing us, guys. She literally is like, go and get your Right.
I'm out here wanting
I'm
to
not
go and buy mazoe from the shops. I'm like, maybe I need to make a quick run.
right.
You should.
I actually
Or
feel
I
like
can pour you some,
maybe maybe next time round they should be our sponsor. I mean, if anyone from Mazoe is watching, I mean, do the right thing. Do the right thing. But yeah, I'm not endorsing any sugar diabetes, so do not follow my my guide to dilution. Do not. That was not. Yeah. Cut the cameras. I'm joking. So yeah, we are gonna have this conversation. I'm really excited. I am loving the conversation. This is something we've been speaking about for a few weeks now. If you've been part of, the conversation, if you've tuned into any of the episodes that came before this one, then you know what we're talking about in this series. And basically we're here to discuss influence, what influence means to different people at different contexts in Zimbabwean society, So we just want to jump into the conversation, and I'm very, very excited to hear your take on this conversation. So yeah, the first thing that I think we should discuss is what influence means to us, and what we understand about influence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for me, just looking at the whole influencer thing, I would think that influence has to do with someone or something having the ability to change the way we look at things. So it can be a movement, it can be a brand, it can be a belief culture or whatever it is, but it has the ability to have an impact on something already existing. So if it's something that already existing, it can talk about something that I already believe in, something that I already use, if it's a brand or a service. So it's that ability to have some form of impact that will make me either change to conform to that influence or kind of work against it, whatever it is. But it's just the capacity for effect, yeah.
I think for me, influence would definitely be exactly what you said, just the ability to get people to feel a certain type of way about whatever it is. And I think, the more we've been talking about this, the more that I keep restructuring my understanding of it. I really think that it also has to do with, it doesn't have anything to do with the number of people that you're influencing. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes it can even just be, as simple as a teacher influencing one student, a sibling, an older sibling influencing a younger sibling, or vice versa. So I think it's just about, just the minute you have that kind of ability to change someone's train of thought or someone's understanding of something, then technically congratulations, you are an influencer.
I think both of you bring fair points to the table. I think that I can completely agree with what you guys have said. I think influence is also just understanding that we all have impact. We all, like Vera is saying, we all play a role. So I think it's maybe influence is understanding your role within this huge machine that is life. Some people are bigger parts within the machine than others. But it's important to understand that there is always someone being influenced by something, by another person. And you, they work interchangeably. You're being influenced by other people and you are influencing other people. So yeah, I love that. I think that people, I'm just I can't even, my mind is all over the place, guys. Sorry, I'm a lot. So anyway, what I wanted to say is that I wanted to ask you if influence is something that you came into naturally, or if it's something you worked towards, or this question, the more now after giving those definitions, this question is a bit how do you even ask that? How do you come into, I feel like everyone has influence, So now I want to ask you the question, when did you realize you had influence and how did you go about that?
Yeah, I think just by the definition I gave, that influence is the capacity to effect. So I think we're all born with that, the potential, and then what happens is that there's some that recognize it and then they own it. So those are the ones that we say, oh, did you always have this thing, or you had to kind of grow into it, find it as you go? But there's some, like personally, I always say that I was born with it because number one, I think one of the qualities that I have that makes me influential in some ways, my ability to speak. I've always been a loud child. I've always been an opinionated child. And, you know, I grew up in a household where it was okay to say your mind, you know, when you're like, no, I don't do this, when it's the culture at home type thing. So from a young age, I've always been that girl that has a voice. And naturally, I told myself, oh, okay, looking at people around me. I remember growing up, you'd see the likes of, at the time, Robert Mugabe was a thing before I grew up and discovered real life.
I'm joking.
I know, like I'm telling you, growing up, just looking at the man, his ability to speak, you know, the ability to, you know, address certain things just by the way he spoke. For me, that was kind of crazy. And just being able to say, oh, I also have this ability. So that means I have the ability or the potential for that. But then you realize also as you grow that you discover it's not just talking. You need to be smart around it. How do I use my voice? And that's where the influence thing comes in, where you become deliberate in the way that you own this capacity to effect. That's what happened with me. I knew, like, sis, you've got this. So the journey since then has been, how do I use my voice, you know, to influence the kind of society I want to see? So I think that's where I am.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Right. I feel that. I've heard Vera's answer a million times, but I'm ready. Give it
No,
to
I
me.
actually just wanted to make a comment on, you know, the fact that she spoke about our former president, Robert Mugabe. I think we should actually insert
Robert.
his face. We want to see his face, like, on the screen, please. Anyway, I think he was really someone that had the ability to sell a dream. I think that's what influence is sometimes. I think it's like selling this amazing dream. And I think he always had that ability. And I think from the time of, you know, them getting into the liberation struggle and like him now becoming, you know, really growing in ranks in, you know, the movement and things like that, I think that just shows how, you know, when you make conscious decisions and how you want to influence people, you can become like one of the most powerful people on earth. Like, it's the same thing with, you know, cartels, is that sometimes it's very conscious decisions. Someone will wake up in the morning, they're like, I want to be the leader of the petrol cartel in Zimbabwe. And they will make the steps, they'll meet the right people, they'll say the right things, and they'll get to that point. There are people who, like, we sometimes just always think about as like politicians and celebrities, but even in terms of like the business world, you see people that like make these conscious decisions. Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, they all make these conscious decisions to be like, I'm going to be that guy that everyone's going to look at and be like, oh my gosh, I want to be like this. Or if he says, let's all inject ourselves with Vaseline, then everyone's going to do it because, you know, they just have that kind of influence on people.
Gorilla Glue Girl.
Hey!
Let's talk about Gorilla Glue Girl. Let's glue our heads down. Honey, people are actually gluing themselves now. Can we talk about an influencer? I'm like, this is the stupidest trend I've ever seen. People are stupid. Ugh.
When I do my hair, I like to, you know, finish it off with a little Got to Be glue spray, you know, just to keep it in place. Well, I didn't have any more Got to Be glue spray, so I used this Gorilla Glue spray. Bad idea. Y'all, look, my hair, it don't move. You hear what I'm telling you? It don't move. I've washed my hair 15 times and it don't move.
Like, that just speaks of itself.
And you know, that's basically the thing, you know, like, you know, some of those things we look at and people are just conforming. You're wondering, oh, okay, people actually do this. But then that's when you realize that, like what Jordan said earlier, that there's everything for everyone. So there's some things where I'm like, you know what, I'm good. Because like for me, I mean, there's certain things that I just don't bother with. I'm just like, no, like I'm good. And
I love
also
that.
just, I wanted to
the way she's like, you know what, I'm good.
Yeah, because I think you need to choose. That's the thing about influence and being an influencer as well, to say you then filter what you take in because it shapes you. You know, that's the thing where I'm becoming something, but then there's people around me that influence me. So if I allow everything to influence me, it has the power to alter who I'm trying to be. So I need to be very deliberate in terms of what I take in. And even as an influencer, like what Vera was mentioning, that you can start off good, you know, but there are people that end up losing it. And it becomes so sad because they become an influencer, but not for change that benefits everyone. So that's the sad part. Yeah.
Right. I think we can all agree that Mugabe Roberts single-handedly influenced the homophobic climate in Zimbabwe. Like, we can all agree to that. That is like his doing. He worked very hard to let us know that Zimbabweans are not gays.
If dogs and pigs know their mates, can human beings remain human beings if they do worse than pigs?
So I'm also just like hectic, because I've seen a lot of gay Zimbabweans in my lifetime. So.
And you know, that's the thing about influencers like that, where you find people that support these individuals and their voices, right? So it's almost like they're people that say things on behalf of certain people that don't have the balls to say it. And then they want to act like it's just Robert Mugabe, but at the end of the day, you know, they're like, yo, comrade, you just say something for us, which is nonsense because people are not owning, you know, their opinion and things like that.
Right. I hear that. I feel like people, a lot of the times people want someone to represent their ideas, represent their ideals for them so that they don't have to own up to them. I feel that very, very strongly. But yeah, when we think about someone like Robert Mugabe, I'm just like, that's someone who someone who took his influence and was bad with it. Like, he was trash. He really could have done so much good. Like, he could have chosen to do good. Maybe he did have like good things that he did. No, what is the word? Indirectly, he indirectly had some sort of good influence, you know, like giving back our country to Zimbabweans, giving back, you know, like there's a lot of things that we can say were good things. But then I think about the fact that like there's so much bad to it as well. And it leads me to my next question, which is, when you're in a position of influence, you know, there's this idea that you are going to directly or indirectly affect change. And when I think of that, I think of people who are indirectly doing things that are negative or indirectly saying things that might be negative. And then you think of people who are going out of their ways and directly and like with the, what is the word? With the intention, they intentionally going out of their ways and doing things to ensure that like there's some sort of positive responsibility is something that should be a part of being an influencer, of someone in a position of influence. Do you think that you should be intentionally being socially responsible?
Yeah, I think first of all, when you understand that I have the capacity to influence not just myself, but people around me, I think by virtue of that, you need to then assume responsibility of that influence, because it's in you. So for instance, if I decide to say I'm an outspoken person, I'm an opinionated person, my views get out, I need to come back to then say I exist in a society where there is people, you know, people, different levels, people that take things in different ways, the issues of language, the issues of the manner in which I present things. Like, there's a whole lot of dynamics that I need to pay attention to. And then the other thing comes in to say, I'm not just speaking, you know, for victims or people that I feel can't speak for themselves. I'm also speaking against certain people that have powers, you know, to silence me, to do something when I speak and all those crazy things. So I think as a leader, that social responsibility is key, because leadership means they are followers. They're people that look up to you. They're people whose everyday lives are shaped by the way you speak, you know, the way you do your thing. So by that virtue, you can't act like there's no one around you. There's people, and you like that. So own up to it.
Right.
I love that you said that, that when you become an influencer, you are a leader. Like, it automatically makes you a leader. And I think sometimes influencers don't think about that. I think it's so easy to just say, I'm still just a normal person that has 20,000 followers on Instagram and on Twitter and whatever. But at the end of the day, you need to understand that once you have something called a follower, once people are following you, once people are looking up to you for whatever you're saying, for whatever you're doing, you have become a leader. And when you become a leader, that means that you have responsibility. And unfortunately, as a leader, your responsibility is to your people. Like, I know other governments and some presidents will plead otherwise, but the initial
Zimbabwe.
Africa in general.
Yeah, but
Uganda.
Nigeria. But like, you know, Trump. You know how
South Africa.
I think they got the idea. But like, yeah, so basically that's just my ideas. My understanding is
Put
that
a list of all the corrupt countries on the screen. I'm joking.
and their presidents. I'm joking. No, but yeah, so it's very important to understand that you have become a leader. You have people that are following you, that are looking up to you, that are expecting certain things from you. And when you become a leader, that means that you serve your people. And yes, as your people, when we have a call or a meaningful thing going on, and when we are asking you to help us out, best believe you better be on standby, ready to speak. Because if you aren't, we will come for you and we will drag you on Twitter.
Right. I feel that. I'm just like, I feel people are very picky, guys. People are very like picky choosy when they want to be powerful, you know? You want to say, oh no, I'm so powerful, blah, 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 when it suits people, you know? But I'm just like, there should be no reason why, the more we have these conversations, I'm like, there should be no reason why you should be accepting to be in a position of influence if you're not willing to do the work. You know, it's a job at the end of the day. It comes with responsibilities. Every single thing, every single position that you find yourself in life comes with its own set of responsibilities. And I think the mature thing, the adult thing to do, you know, and this is, if you're an influencer and you're a kid, I'm still speaking to you, girl, grow up. The grown-up thing to do is to be responsible, you know? I don't know. I think even someone in the position of like a kid influencer, you have to have someone in your team who is pushing that and being like, you know, you influence children. And so you need to be able to do that. I'm thinking of this celebrity. I don't know if you guys know this little celebrity. Her name is Jojo Siwa. Do you know her? She was on like Dance Moms. She was like in that Dance Moms thing with what's her name? Abby Miller, whatever. And basically, recently, actually, there was a whole scandal, a whole huge scandal associated with her brand. Mm-hmm. And because she's a kid, obviously, you know, they just sign things, whatever. And so there was this game created by Nickelodeon. We all know Nickelodeon. And the game was basically like a game with cards for kids. And some of the questions in the cards were like, have you ever kissed a boy? Or have you ever kissed a boy or a girl? Have you ever...
Where the African parents at when things like that are happening?
Girl! For kids. So for me, I was just like, that was a bit like out of touch, like completely out of touch for something like that to be given to children. And you know, maybe in Hollywood it's normal for people to be asking each other, like little kids, oh, have you ever kissed a boy? Have you ever touched each other on, like, you know, those kinds of things. I was like, what? So anyway, yeah, apparently there was a whole lot of scandal around this, like whatever. And so she said that no, she had no idea that this is what was going out. But for me, I'm just like, don't you scrutinize the things that you're associating your names with, guys? You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, anyway, this leads me to the next question, which is, do you feel like people in positions of power become out of touch when they're now like influential because of maybe the people around them? Maybe no one is keeping them in check. Maybe there's a lack of accountability. You know, do you think that it works hand in hand?
Yeah, I think it does happen actually. I think we've seen it even in Zim as well, where It's like, for me, I always say I come from Ekasi, like we call it Ekas, the ghetto in Bulawayo. And my entire life, my entire inspiration and, what I do every day comes from the experiences in that place and some of the things that young people in that space kind of were going through. So now, even now when I'm growing and I'm seeing these victories, like when you meet these young people, they remind you that you are an inspiration or you are helping them, kind of get out of where they are. So the danger in your growth, because the idea is to grow away from where you started, to bigger spaces. When you grow out of that place, it's so easy to invalidate the experiences of people that remained in that place. It's like Zim right now, where I stay in the avenues, for instance, where water doesn't, leave us, If it does, we've got
Are you
like
showing off?
outside. No, I'm not. This is what I'm trying to prove. Like,
sorry, but like as Mantate, I don't know these water problems, and
exactly,
it's not my life.
So it's that thing of saying I stay in a place where, luckily, for some reason, water issues are not a thing, right? The electricity thing, I always have 24-hour electricity and stuff like that. So when someone decides to come and accuse the president or councillor or mayor of a failure to deliver in terms of water, electricity, or whatever, it's not my place to come and say, but electricity is there in the avenues. That is disrespectful.
You'll be scratching your head, sis.
Yeah. So people do that. I think that's part of an example, of someone getting detached, where there's people that are experiencing certain things, but because you're privileged to some extent, you're not going through that. So just being able to consistently exchange with someone else that's not in the same level that you're at, to always remember to say whoever's experience is valid, even though it's different from you. So I think there's that. It's a culture that I'm seeing a lot, not just in Zim, but outside, people in the diaspora as well. It's the guys that will always tell us that we're not fighting hard enough for a better Zim, and I'm just always there like, come back, fight for it, And it's not even those outside, it's also Zimbabweans inside, where the people outside want to kind of speak into things happening here. And someone from Zim will tell you, what can you tell us when you're not in this place type thing. So I think it's at different levels, people that are failing to appreciate that there's an experience outside of themselves that is equally valid and very important, for us to kind of progress as a society.
Yeah.
I feel that. Yeah, go ahead, Vera.
Yeah, no, people. I think we've always, like we've said this throughout all of the episodes, is that people do. I don't know what it is about losing touch with who you are and things like that. And I don't know if it's a power thing. I don't know if it's a money thing. I don't know if it's a I want to forget about my struggle because now I've made it thing. But I also feel like it's absolute BS for people to do that, because with that kind of reasoning, you can then kind of say that, women who finally make it in life can also just be like, well, we don't get the struggle of other women who are struggling to get to the positions they're in. And you find that a lot of women kind of don't do that. I think also it comes into play when it comes to race, where imagine if Obama got into the White House and he was like, yeah, Black lives do matter, but like, guys, I'm president, so like clearly it's not that bad, But like I remember, like I don't know, it's a crazy area. I think a lot of the times we have a big issue with politicians that definitely lose touch. They're out here campaigning, saying, "No, we get you, we feel you," and then they forget about you once they're in power. I think, no offense to certain CSOs, but I think that also happens. It's the same thing, where you have NGOs, CSOs.
All offense. On my behalf. On my behalf. All offense. Get offended.
Yeah. But you hear all of these stories about like an organization that started, oh, we want to help street kids. We're going to do the most for them. And, it's an organization that had no money when they started off. They were, everything was based on donations from church and family and friends. And then they get to this point where they're making big bucks. They even can, do text things and whatever. And then like they help out one street kid a year, or like they're not really doing what they said they were going to do. So I don't know what it is, like, and it's just an unfortunate thing that happens. And it happens a lot of the times. This is why brands lose their authenticity. They lose their value because they forget who they are. They forget that, okay, when we made this, who did we have in mind? Why were we doing this? A lot of people forget the why. and then they end up just being oh, we're just here for vibes.
Sure.
Right. I think I say this a lot. I think I've been saying this for a really long time. If you follow me on Twitter, then you know that like I've been saying this. There's a lot of organizations and a lot of like, especially like organizations, guys. I'm calling you out. I'm calling out people like UNICEF and UNDP, like all those. But if you want to fund us and give us sponsorship, close your ears now. Close them now.
This is to all. Gordon, you're referring to all the organizations that have not funded us yet.
Right. So, if you have funded us, love you. But if you haven't, then this is for you. Basically, what I'm saying is that, I feel like there's a lot of misrepresentation in the way that people sometimes, they can be that appearance of like social responsibility, like, oh yes, we believe that the LGBTQIA plus community should have space and jobs and what, like whatever. And then in your working environment, you have hired 0 or 1 person from the community. And I'm like, okay, so are you just talking or do you actually care? Like, you know what I'm saying? And for me, that's like, I don't vibe with that. It just doesn't sit right with me for you to be saying, oh, we champion for these communities, we champion for these people, what, women's rights, but you don't give women equitable treatment in the workplace, And I'm just like, it doesn't make sense to me. And that was the first thing I wanted to say. The second thing I wanted to say is that, our problems it's safe to say that your problems, the world's problems don't end where your problems end, and I think that's something that you need to take into account when you're doing these things. Just because you've come to the end of your problems and your problems have been solved doesn't mean that everyone else's problems have been solved. You are not the center of the universe. You are not the main character in the universal narrative. Okay, in this movie that the world is shooting, you are not the main character. You are just one person. You are one person. You are just one person. And there are people who have problems on problems on problems on problems on problems. Like on problems on problems on problems. Especially right now in this pandemic. We're seeing so many people losing their jobs, guys. People are being told, oh, work from home. Where am I going to get the money for the Wi-Fi to work from home? Where am I going to get the money to put my kids? People are saying, put your kids on the online schooling. Are you gonna fund my Wi-Fi? Are you gonna give me a laptop? Because now you want me to give my kids my laptop, which I've been working on, to fund this family. So does it make sense? You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of oversight that goes into some of the decisions, even that decision about like working from home or your kids, whatever, at home. That's very out of touch, guys. It's a very out of touch decision because not everyone has a laptop. Not everyone has a stable connection to internet access. I was actually in some thing the other day where they were saying that, guys, more than half of the population in Zimbabwe, I think even a third, only like a small fraction of Zimbabweans have access to the entire internet. Everyone else is just accessing through WhatsApp. That is the only way that people have access to the internet. And then you want to come and be like, no, you need to be doing online schooling. You need to be, it doesn't make sense. Are you going to send the assignments over WhatsApp? Because then we can do it,
like I just want to just add something on there to say, sometimes it's not even just the Wi-Fi. You look at the people that stay, I don't know, like you see in Mbare. It might not just be Mbare, but I'll just give an example of Mbare in Makokova in Bulawayo, where someone stays in a one-room house and there's like a whole number of kids, some are small, and then there's a father in the house that's a drunkard or a young guy that's a drunkard, something like that. So before you even talk of the Wi-Fi, me working from home means me in a one-room house with 7 people and it's a wild house. I can't go outside because it's a crazy-ass community. So it's some of the things that people don't think. And then also just the main thing, there's an influencer when we started the lockdown here in Harare, was just showing this other lodge that was offering, space. Like if you want to use it as an office, since we're working from home, you could come. Then there was like coffee and all those things. So she was just advertising and showing how. I don't want to mention names. I don't want to disrespect people. So for me, I actually saw that where she's talking about how the lockdown thing is kind of the lockdown thing is kind of working out fine because she's able to go to the space and blah blah blah. So for me, I had so many questions. I'm like, it's great, but understand that people that look up to you don't have the resources to afford this life. Because for me to leave Kuwadzana to some place in Glenlawn or wherever where I have to pay for space and then get fancy breakfast and all these crazy things, it's already out of touch with the people that look up to you. So I felt like that was also I sent her a message, actually, like a DM. She didn't respond, but I love it anyway. So I think that's kind of just the space we're in, where we're all happy to protect ourselves from the spread of COVID. But there's people that can't even run away from realities back home, you know?
True. That's so.
You know what? I think I'm gonna cancel you. I'm gonna cancel you, Mantate, for not telling us the name. You're cancelled. This is now because how can you do that to me? That's not.
You should put an X on her face.
I'm hungry
video.
for stories. Clearly, I'm hungry for stories. Like, just pull the teeth. It's that afternoon tea session. I can go and get my bread and butter so I can dip. You know. Speaking of cancel culture, basically it leads us to like the next part of this conversation, and I wanted to ask you guys if you think that like cancel culture is a real thing. Like, what do you think about cancel culture? What is your idea of it? And then if you think it actually exists.
Vera, do you want to take it?
I've noticed something, like people
Whenever we
get this question, people always ask me to say something first.
I could take it.
No, it's like,
I also wanted to say, quickly, 2 second segue. I also wanted to say, you're the first person who has been a guest on here who's from Bulawayo who didn't say, oh, the city of kings and queens, you know, we have clean water, we have what. I'm like, yo.
I mean, guys, I'm evidence of, you know, a great background, so I don't need to say it. You'll concede.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
But you know what, honey? I can agree with you because I happen to also be from Bulawayo. So
trust me, we can tell.
Yes, that awesomeness. They must know.
But yeah, anyway, go ahead, Vera. Sorry.
Cancel culture is definitely a thing. I just think that I've said this and I'll continue to say this until it sticks into people's minds. I think that it's just something that needs to be regulated, guys. Like, I think cancel culture is an example of the Wild West, where someone gets angry at you and then they come guns blazing and they shoot you and they kill you and they're like, well, pew, pew, I'm done. And then they move on with life. So that's my issue with cancel culture, is that I think it is something that exists. I think it is something that works to a certain extent. I know Jordan's saying, but yes, Jordan, I think cancel culture works. And like, we've seen it. We've seen R. Kelly fall. We've seen Nick Cannon fall. We've seen Bill Cosby fall, guys. Like, we've seen people fall. And I think we've seen Harvey Weinstein fall. Come on. Like, these things have been happening. My only issue is I hate cancel culture when it comes to a thing where someone goes down Vera's Twitter memory line and they're like, oh my gosh, in 2009, when Vera joined Twitter, she said that all people from Gweru smell like fish. Let's cancel her. Guys, maybe I was, 15 when I wrote that. Like, can we let it go? I'm not saying disclaimer, people from Gweru do not smell like fish. You smell amazing. But I'm just giving an example of Zimbabweans.
But if you smell like fish, then I mean, if the shoe fits, wear it.
Cinderella.
But yeah, like, people will do things like that. And I'm like, clearly, I feel like if that post did exist, and people were to meet me now, you would see that there's been a long line of me showing that I don't believe in that kind of stuff. So yeah, so like that's my issue, is that like people want to, because Mantate has annoyed me today, I'm going to go down her social media history and find one wrong thing that she once said 7 years ago, just so I can drag her in this timeline. Come on, guys, let it go.
And to what end, you know? That's the thing. And then someone comes back tomorrow and they're like, sorry.
You see.
Like, Like, sorry, what's your sorry supposed to do? Correct. Anyway, I think I do share sentiments with you, Vera, because I think, especially in Zim, a lot of things influence how we handle people online. Others, it's clout most of the times, especially on Twitter. It's always this clout chasing that I don't understand, where you say certain things to please certain types of people. And then some days they're not pleased, so they come for you as well. But I think it's that question of where is it coming from and to what end? Because I think if we're a society that's not going to open up to people sort of like growing past certain stages in their lives, like you mentioned, that's something that might have been said 20 years ago, 10 years ago. So when I come back and trace how Vera has changed over the last 5-6 years, and there's been a consistency, in a changed behavior type thing, and then suddenly you want to define that person based on something that was there, I think that's trashy. Because the question is, okay, then what? After this, then what? So yeah, I do think it's a big problem. But then also there's something I wanted to say earlier about Zim, because a lot of things, even our preference for music, even like our association with fashion brands and all these crazy things, it comes back to the politics of our country. That's the saddest thing ever. Where because you are, like if you look at Japreza, Winky D and all these crazies, Sandra Ndebele as well, where people will tell you that I'm not going to listen to Sandra Ndebele, I'm not going to do this because she was seen at White City and Robert Mugabe was there because you're angry at Robert Mugabe. And there's a whole lot of things where people literally don't watch a live show because they have certain feelings about a certain person because they feel they represent a certain faction in politics. So I think there is that problem in Zim where a lot of the things that we say, a lot of the things that influence the cancel culture are things that have to do with our political frustrations. People are not open. People can't have a conversation. People can't correct without, just linking it back to I'm angry at ZANU-PF, I'm angry at whoever. And I'm just like, guys, we need to leave outside ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF, I'm sorry to say, but I think ZANU-PF for the longest time has become such a constant in people's everyday lives that people can't separate themselves from ZANU-PF.
Right.
I understand you're angry at ZANU-PF. You're allowed to be angry because when someone frustrates you, when someone takes away an opportunity for you to grow a dignified life, you need to be angry at that person or that system. But you cannot leave, influence. You can't live under the shadow of that institution because their lives go on and you lose Ubuntu, over a ZANU-PF that doesn't care. I mean, clap for you.
I feel that. I feel you. I just want to go back to what Vera said about Nick Cannon has fallen. Whoa, what? But honey, no. Guys, I will keep saying this. Cancel culture does not exist. People just get outraged on Twitter, on Facebook. Oh, whenever I say Facebook, I'm like, I think of old people in the comment section. And I'm just like, but if you're on Facebook and you're young, I'm not being ageist. Love you guys. Love you.
Oh wow.
Yesterday was my birthday, so I'm becoming old too. I can't be
And why is
ageist.
that?
I'm becoming old too. I'm also gonna be old one day. So so what I'm saying is that Nick Cannon, guys, he is getting his Wild and Out show back. He's not cancelled.
Oh yeah.
He's fine. He's okay. He's good, guys. People are still booking him. People are like, we'll cancel you for 1 minute. Go sit in the corner, Nick. Don't look at us. Don't.
But other people survive that 1 minute. Then others don't.
Exactly. Others in that 1 minute in the corner, they'll be on the phone making new deals. They'll be like, I'm going to, just get out of this, get this, get that, and then they have more deals.
Can I say something, Jordan? Though I get what you're saying, but I think in terms of Hollywood, guys, when your image starts getting tarnished in a certain way, it's very hard for you to build back your brand. Like Hollywood is one of those things where if we decide that we don't like you and we don't want to help you and we don't want to work with you, we're going to paint you black, and then it's going to take a while for you to wash off all of that black paint and that black ink and whatever and all of that stuff. So I think, and there are times when I obsessively.
And we're not talking about blackface.
So I know
for all of you people don't get. For all of the white people, don't get ideas. Don't get ideas. That's not what we're saying.
But yeah, like
If you're white and you're watching this, love you. Love you. Thank you.
So like yeah, like I've watched so many videos on YouTube where they talk about certain actors, certain socialites and whatever celebrities that have just disappeared because they said one wrong thing and like no one wants to hire them again and stuff like that. So I think that stuff does happen. I just also think that it depends on like how powerful you are, how much money you have in your bank and things like that. I think all of those things end up like adding up to it. But I think it does happen. And yes, Nick Cannon, maybe for this year and next year, he's going to be making money, but there's going to come a time when he's going to be irrelevant. And people are going to keep bringing up the fact that, oh my gosh, he said some anti-Semitic stuff on TV, on some podcast, and we don't like him because of that. And we're not going to holler at him anymore. R. Kelly has been canceled, guys. We cannot fight that. And we cannot lie about it. R. Kelly is done. If he gets out of jail today and releases the most fire album on earth, it will not make as much money as it used to make because he is done. He is old news. We loved him and then we realized that he was sexing little babies. And we stopped loving him and we canceled him.
Right. We loved him and then we realized he was loving us back a little bit too hard. I mean, if you get what I'm saying.
And like I think Vera, from what you just mentioned as well, I think it's that question of there are people that cancel other people online, but privately, I mean, they are the most committed supporters of those people. I think, like they hype everyone online where they're like, no, we're not doing this. Or the craziest I've seen in Zim, someone will come to Twitter and say, this ABC person is doing it live on Instagram and there's just like 5 people. And someone's like, yeah, you are the 5th, right? So it's one of those things where you're like, okay, you're saying cancelled, but you're out there trying to keep in their space. So
right. Yeah, that's true.
Right. I'm just like, I agree with that because you'll see people, we're talking about that, the Shadaya account on Twitter. That man who is always just saying trash. People are like, no, we cancel. But people go to his page to go and look for his tweets. So I don't get it, You might not follow him, but you're still giving him a platform. You're still looking at his stuff, So I'm just like, it's very tiring. People are very, very tiring. People make me so tired. I'm so tired. I'm very, very tired of like, ugh. I feel like it's just right. I'm so over it. Like a vocal fry. But I just feel like in 2021, guys, we should stop calling it cancel culture. I think it's just a thing of being accountable. It's accountability culture. I don't think you deserve to have the jobs that you have or the positions that you have. If you're not going to be someone who is going to be doing right by people, doing right by other people, as much as you can say, I was just my opinion. Have you guys seen that episode of like the Real Housewives of I think it was Orange County, where she shut we're going to insert the clip. I really have to.
How do you know what's good for me? That's my opinion! Don't you get it? Why can't anybody have an opinion but you?
And I yell.
Do you not get it?
How do you know what's
That's
good
my
for me?
We're going to insert the clip. And so, yeah, basically, it can be your opinion. Go ahead, go off, go have an opinion, girl. But, sometimes go and have an opinion over there in the corner where we can't hear you and block your mouth and close it and then say it in your head and shout it as loud as you can, but only here, So it's great. If your opinion is centered on other people being disenfranchised, I don't think it's a very valid opinion, I don't think it's something that you should be saying. I don't think you should ever, ever, ever feel like you're in a position to dictate how someone else should be living or where someone else should be standing in society or whatever. Like, just shut up. That's all I have to say to you. Like, just shut up. I censored myself. That was not censorship because on HerHour we don't do censorship. So... but anyway, yeah, we're coming to the end of our conversation, and I just wanted to give this chance, this time, give you a platform, Mantate, to just speak on anything that you feel like you are passionate about, that you feel like we probably might have left out of the conversation, anything that you feel needs to be brought up, if you want to sound off on the fact that this morning when you were pouring your milk into your cereal, it wasn't as warm as you liked it, go off. So this is your chance.
Yeah, I think for me, I think one of the things I've discovered, there's one thing we grew up being told not to be, that whole thing about you can't be, if you're a jack of all trades, you can't be a master of any. For me, I think one of the things I'm realizing as I'm growing is that I'm good at different things. Well, there are different levels to how good I am at different things, but just being able to, first of all, accept that I'm good at different things and being able to explore those different elements of you. I think in Zim, it's something that kind of you're forced to do because, things are crazy. If you want to make it big, you can't just be a teacher or a vendor or a fashion designer, whatever. It's about how do I harness all the skills and talents I have to kind of bring myself out there. And that's something that I'm very passionate about. Like when we're talking about influence, for me, the heart is to role model, people kind of role modeling a human being that's living to their fullest, if there's anything like that, where you're not confined as a woman. Because first, I'm a woman in a society where you're consistently being told, or politics is too savage for women, or you're being told you can't dress a certain way because you're a woman. There are certain things that we're consistently having to fit into. So part of what I'm trying to do in the different projects that I'm doing is to ensure that I show people that you can be every bit the woman you aspire to be, and still be awesome at it, like dress the way you want and still be badass when it comes to politics, be able to do your job and change people's lives, not being defined like by certain things in society. So there's like when I recently started Umukle, that's one thing I wanted to talk about today. One of the things that really inspired me to do Umukle was the idea that in society we've been told what
Thank you.
Like,
Thank you for calling me beautiful, sis. Thank you.
Yeah, so Umukle for me came from a place of, trying to get women to look at themselves and see what's beautiful about themselves, and owning it.
Wait, can I ask you, are you spelling it Mumutle? What dialect is that?
So it's Sutu. So it's Umotle, Umukle.
Umukle.
So people
I'm spelling
it to say
UMU.
Yes.
HLE. Yes.
Mm-hmm. You spelled
Umukle, like Bushle.
Mm-hmm. So it was just this idea.
All right. Anyway, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah. So I was saying, it comes from a place where I feel like there is so much about each of us that makes us beautiful. And beauty just goes beyond just the way we look, it goes into even your taste in fashion, the things you love to wear. I think people should be allowed to define what works for them and be, like when you're walking in the streets and you're dressed a certain type of way, people it's not just men, it's the women too who look at you some type of way. The girls that talk about you because they don't think it's okay for me to dress different from their style of dressing and stuff like that. So Umukle comes from that place where I want to be able to tell the stories of what women feel makes them beautiful and be able to showcase that, affirm that, so that's kind of what I'm working on now. And in as much as, now I'm just like, you all should buy my earrings and all those things. It's not just that, it's just being able to continuously look at ideas to curate, beauty in the African context. It can be about the prints that we use, the beads that, you see the earrings that you all are wearing, they're so different, but gorgeous in their different ways, If it's about dreadlocks and the earrings that pop, if it's about this, Jordan's hair is like so gorgeous. Like I'm jealous all the time. Yeah.
So is yours. I love yours.
Thank you. So it's that thing of we need to come to that place as a society where we accept ourselves as different and finding that there is no one person who determines the standard for what a good thing is, because we're losing a lot of people. People are doing certain things to measure up, and that's nonsense. It is nonsense. People are going to extremes, just to measure up to the so-called expectations of man, the expectations of society and all that stuff. So this is, I think, just the space for the brand is helping women own themselves. Because when you own who you are, you're able to stand in front of people as a politician, as a business person, as an artist, and whatever, and just be you, and badass. So that's my project right now.
Right. Shout out. Check out Mantate's earrings. We will put, and all of the other things that she's doing, not just her earrings, everything else. We probably will put a link in our description box so you can check that out over there. But yeah, this is leading us to the last part of this conversation. This is making me sad. Oh my gosh. But basically, the last thing we would like to hear from you is, do you, all of us, anyone, this is for everyone, do you have any advice for anybody who is interested? Actually, no, this is for anyone because anyone is influential. So do you have advice for people when it comes to influence?
Yeah, I think the first thing is be you, because that's what people are buying into. So when you consistently be you, I think it's easy to sustain, just being you, because I don't have to work too hard to be Mantate. Like the Mantate you see online is the Mantate you bump into in person. Yeah. So it's easy to not run away from Jordan because I'm seeing her at Spa, other girl, she's used to top thing. So I think it's very important to define ourselves and be that. And more than that, I think it's also being cognizant of what being you does to other people. Be you in a way that inspires other people to be themselves too. That's what influence is about. Inspire others to be the best versions of themselves and not necessarily to be you, because I think it would be boring to just have like a whole lot of Mandates in the world. We need the diversity. So I think my advice to everyone is just do you in a way that inspires other people to become, and when you start, the other thing is consistency, because 5 years later, 5 years is a lot, 5 months later, people are going to come back and say, oh sis, you said you sleep at what time, you wake up at what time, you produce this amount of content, that type of thing. And I think it's just been consistent. Do what you can do. Your best is always good enough. Don't try and be what people expect you to be. You can never please people. I mean, you can't do that. So yeah.
I just want to add one thing to what you said, because it was so beautiful. Just want to add one thing. One thing, guys, allow me this, is I just thought about this when you were talking, and you can't be beautiful without being you, because in the word beautiful, it says be beautiful. So you have to be you for you to be beautiful. I'm done.
Yes.
Vera is corny AF, guys. I'm joking. That is no, but it's cute. It's true. It's very true, guys. It's very true. No. As corny as it is the truest thing. Like, be beautiful. And it's also like B-U-T. It could be to the fullest. Like, be you to the fullest. Beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm just adding to the corniness. You're like drowning in corn soup right now. But I love that. I really appreciate that advice. That is some solid advice from both of you. I love that. I think being yourself is so important. I think it's the main part of this conversation. Is when you have influence, it has to come from a place of personal conviction. It has to be you doing things because you want to do them. And then obviously the rest follows because you're just doing it because that's what you want to do. You're not doing it for anyone else. And so, yeah, I think this is a beautiful place to end this conversation. I am really, really grateful. Thank you so much for coming on. You've been such an amazing, amazing, amazing guest. I think people will enjoy this episode. I have enjoyed it. I mean, if they got this far, then they have seen it, the whole thing. But yeah, I think that you guys should hit up Mantate on her social media. I was going to say Instagram. Her social medias, they should be on the screen somewhere. Maybe next to her face. Maybe next to mine. Maybe they're like eyeglasses over my eyes. But yeah, anyway, also feel free to check out our social medias, mine and Vera. and also the Her Hour page if you're new here. Join our family of Our Rangers and be part of the fun. Did you not see how fun this episode was, girl? Like, oh boy, if you don't want me to call you girl, sorry. I know some of you are very touchy about that. Boy, got people, what's good? Join the family, join the fun, come and be an Our Ranger. You can't be the pink Our Ranger because I'm the pink one. Vera's no, I'm joking. I'm the red Our Ranger. We're not talking about Power Rangers, so don't come here with that Power Ranger mess. This is the Power Rangers, okay? Right. So yeah, feel free to like, comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit us up. Go and check out the other episodes of the Influence series. This is not the only one. And if you're seeing this one, you've missed out on a lot. So go and scroll it back, and watch the first episode up to this one. There is space for everyone in this family. If you have an opinion, we want to hear it. So please don't shy away from checking out our other content. We have loads, and I mean loads of content for you to go and binge. We are in our second season of Her Hour if you're new here. So go and check out season 1 if you want to have some fun. There's a lot of fun episodes there that you can check out. So yeah, guys, thank you for coming on the episode again, Mantate. We really appreciate you. Shout out.
So much fun. Like, I loved it.
No, it was fun. This was really fun. So I hope we can do it again in future, maybe when we're not social distancing, when we're not far away from each other.
Then
that would be so much fun.
Yeah.
Right, we can look cute. And you can wear your earrings. And the episode can be sponsored by Umuhle.
Yes, definitely.
Yes. Look at me bagging sponsors. I should get like host of the month, guys.
Nah, you should though.
No, but thank you so much for having me.
I'm playing. But yeah, guys, we will see you on the next one. Bye.
All right, cheers.
Tick, striker, pose.
Oh, swag, drippy, click, striker, pose.